Chapter 15. The Blue Men. 1. We found the following story in a magazine in circulation inside the Federal District. In 1960, a scientific Soviet magazine, leaning on the stories of the Egyptian historian Manetho and of the Greek Herodotus, as well as in the inscriptions on the enigma of Atlantis and of the coming of extraterrestrial beings, they asked themselves the following question: were the Atlantis a people of blue complexion? Some traditions say that the Atlantis founded the Egyptian civilization and that the oldest leaders of the dynasties were Atlantis of pure race. The Egyptian artists, that reproduced the objects in their murals carefully and respected the colors, how did they paint their gods? Osiris had a green face, by being the god of the vegetation that is reborn. Thought had a green or pale blue pigment, and Amon and Shu were frankly blue. Why did this color appear in the Egyptian gods? This can only be answered in one way: they were descendants of a people of blue skin. We should believe that Osiris and Thought, that arrived to Egypt coming from a country of high mountains, found a plain with warm climate and much sun, and they saw their complexion modified by the sun, that ended up giving them an olive skin. Yellow plus blue equals green, as they have it in our days the inhabitants of the Mediterranean. Could you explain to us something in this respect, Master? The said article is a little vague and obscure. It talks about the blue race. It supposes that this comes from Atlantis. It does not deny the origin of the Egyptian culture. It is obvious that the blue men are the ancient builders of the pyramids. However, something fails in the article, lines mentioned above and places between quotation marks. Allow me the freedom of differing. We needed to emphasize the concrete fact that the blue men never came from the Atlantic continent. Some suppose that the blue men came from Venus, and it is appropriate to quote another part of the mentioned article. Let us remember the extraordinary events that happened in remote times in Venus, that were written down for the astronomers of the antiquity. St. Augustine affirms that Castor, from Rhodes, left a story of an astonishing prodigy that happened in that planet, that suddenly changed of size, of color, and even of orbit around the sun, at the same time that it lost satellites. This unprecedented fact should happen in times of King Ogyges, founder of Thebes, as it is asserted by Adrasto, Cyzicenio, and Dies, notable mathematicians from Naples. What did happen in Venus so that does part of its population had to flee headlong bound for the Earth? A collision? A nuclear explosion? We could not say anything, but if any of these hypotheses happen to be true, we will have to believe that Venus was bound to the history of our planet, and it is surprising the Soviet sages insist on relating the mystery of Venus with that of Atlantis and Tiahuanaco. As you will see, dear reader, the author of the mentioned article, and whose quotations were written here with the purpose of refuting them, has two different opinions, and neither of them is true. Here we in Mexico knew of the case of Salvador Villanueva Medina, author of a book entitled I Was in the Planet Venus. I am acquainted with this man personally, and I know that he is sincere, no chatterer or fantasist. He has been rigorously examined by the psychiatrists, and the results obviously were those of a serious and totally balanced man. Such a gentleman wrote for the good of humanity, told his fellow men what had happened, how, while working as a mere chauffeur, driving a car to the United States, he did undergo such vicissitudes. The automobile was damaged, and the North Americans that traveled with him got off the car abandoning it, in order to go to a nearby town with the purpose of requesting aid. Villanueva Medina remained alone, got under the car with the purpose of inspecting and fixing it. He felt steps in the sand, left from under the car, and met with a Venusian that chatted with him. What happened later is very interesting. They invited him and he accepted. He was taken in a ship to the planet Venus, where he met an extraordinary civilization. After 5 days he was brought back to Earth. The description that Villanueva Medina gave of the men of Venus agrees with the one given by Adamski, famous North American scientist. Stature of the Venusians, average, 1.10 m, white rosy skin, silver hair, beautiful face, etc., etc. Villanueva Medina did not see, then, blue men in the planet Venus. Therefore, such hypothesis also remains discarded. From where did the blue men come then? They existed, it is clear, many people so affirm, but they ignore their origin. We solemnly assert by saying the blue men came from the blue galaxy. There is not doubt that they created the powerful civilizations of Egypt, Chaldea, Assyria, Babylon, etc., etc. 2. Could you tell me, why did they come, with what purposes and for what reason did they come? With great pleasure I will give an answer to the gentleman. I like his question very much. Let give you some information concerning the cosmic universal fraternity. In the same way as mutual help exists between good people, so also there is between planet and planet and between galaxy and galaxy. The masters of the blue galaxy, moved by universal love, have worried very much for our earthling humanity, helping us unceasingly since the deepest night of the centuries. I repeat, they were really those that instructed the architects of the pyramids, those that taught the secret doctrine to the Atlantis and to the Egyptians, those that established the glorious mysteries of the powerful civilizations of Chaldea and Assyria. Their work has been marvelous, formidable. They have really loved us and they still continue loving us, because although it may seem incredible, they live in this heart-stricken world with the purpose of helping us in the critical hour that precedes the great cataclysm. 3. I am surprised by your story. Could you tell me, if they do live in this planet, in what place do they reside? The question that the lady makes is by the way quite interesting, and it is well worthwhile that I give you a concrete answer. I have to inform you that the blue men live in an underground city under the ice of the South Pole. For how is it be possible that they could subsist at temperatures so low? Is their organism different to ours? How do they manage in order to live? We are going to answer the questions of the gentleman. I request greater attention of the auditory. The organisms of the blue men are similar to ours, that is obvious. I want you all to understand me. The men coming from the blue galaxy don't have a house of ice like the Eskimos, or anything like that. It would be absurd to think that such creatures live between the icebergs. It is better to understand that they possess an underground city, constructed in the bowels of the earth. If there is ice above the rocks and the earth in general, they don't affect at all the submerged city. The climatological problem doesn't exist for the blue men. It is clear that if they could conquer the infinite space, they would possess formidable technical advances. It is not difficult to understand that they could have created their own climate inside their mysterious city. 5. Why, since there are other places in our planet with better climate and vegetation, did they choose a so inaccessible place? I answer the gentleman. The lands of the North and South Poles, today covered with ice after the past glaciation, had in other times powerful civilizations, magnificent equatorial climates and splendid cities. Do not be amazed by what I affirm. This underground city where now the blue men live is very old. It was built before the past glaciation. This means that such city has many million years of existence, that it comes from the archaic times of the earth, and that always was the secret habitation of the blue men. Since they have cosmic ships with which they can travel through the infinite space, it is clear and manifest that they don't suffer of problems of supply. 6. These blue men, master, have at some time left from their city in order to live together with the earthlings. We are going to answer the distinguished lady. Let me tell you, young lady, that in the age of Egypt, Assyria, and Babylon, such men were received like true gods. Unfortunately, we are in the Iron Age, in the time of the world degeneration, and for that reason, they rarely mix with the multitudes. However, it is appropriate to affirm that from time to time some of these extraordinary men live together with the people. Certain lady told me the concrete fact that she had seen a man of blue complexion in Buenos Aires, Argentina. 7. Master, do these blue men have any mission to complete at this time or in the future? I see that who has asked this question is a Gnostic international missionary, and it is clear that with the greatest pleasure I will give an answer. The blue men are aiding humanity with telepathic procedures favorable to some, and it is evident that inside some years these extraordinary men will have to rush to the street openly in order to admonish the people, in order to call them to repentance, in order to make them see the awful cataclysm that is approaching. 8. Master, would you be able to tell me how many inhabitants exist approximately in that blue city? Well, Distinguished gentlemen, I will give answer to your question. Let me tell you that I have not counted them. I could assure you that it is quite a big city, very similar in size to Mexico City, with several million people and many houses and streets and avenues and ample spaces in order to keep their ships. More exactly, I don't know what amount of people live there, at least I have not asked the king of the city. 9. I am very surprised that they have a monarchic government, but would you be able to tell me, since are they illuminated beings, if is the king that governs them is divine? Our distinguished young lady, your question is disturbing. I am glad to answer to you. I know His Majesty, and I solemnly say to you that he belongs to the solar dynasties. He is an authentic illuminated master of perfection, who does not need police or armed troops in order to be obeyed in his city. Everybody respects him because he is terrifyingly divine. 10. Master, could you tell us how it is that you managed to get in contact with this monarch? Maybe you have a cosmic ship, or which medium have you used in order to arrive to the blue city where these beings live? Our kind gentleman, I am going to respond with clarity to your yearning to inquire and investigate. Telepathic procedures exist. Nobody ignores that by means of telepathy one could be put in contact with people that live in different places of the world, even at remote distances. However, we go farther still in this question. We have secret procedures by means of which we could transport ourselves spiritually to any secret place, including, as it is logical, to the underground city of the Blue Men. I have visited such city, I don't deny it, and all of you could do it also if you know our procedures. The important thing is that you join our Gnostic studies, study our books, etc. It is clear that upon visiting spiritually that mysterious city, I was supposed to request first the permission of His Majesty the King. Without the permission of that monarch that governs the city, I could not have strolled peacefully by the marvelous streets of that mysterious metropolis. 11. Could you explain to us something about it? How is it, and what type of construction does it have? It is clear, dear sir, that splendid city, built in the bowels of the earth, is very different to all those that you know at the moment in this troubled world in which we live. A winding road leads the visitor to the doors of the city. The streets and avenues are illuminated, as it is natural, by marvelous lamps that make of that gigantic cavern something luminous and radiant, because it seemed to be in splendid day. One could say that they manage the light and the darkness in perfect form. They have 70 splendid meeting rooms distributed in the different places of the city. In such enclosures they celebrate their assemblies, or carry out their studies. 12. What classes of studies do these beings undertake? It is natural, distinguished young lady, that their studies be of an advanced type. They consist of cosmic sciences, highly spiritual matters, nature, etc., etc. It is appropriate to say to you that inside that great mystic and ineffable city glows the Sphinx, a live symbol of the initiatic wisdom. 13. Could you tell me how they dress, and what are the means of transport inside the city? I want to inform you, my good friend, that the members of that blue race dress certainly with elegance and distinction. They use beautiful tunics of the old style, beautiful cloaks, sandals of very classical style, etc. They come and go by the streets of the city along the sidewalks or benches. They are of medium stature and beautiful bearing. They are transported either on foot or in cars different to those we know, propelled by electric power. 14. Could you explain to us, Master, what type of food do they have and where do they get it? Your question is certainly very interesting. It is obvious that they have to eat in order to live. Their basic food is the marine algae. They pick them up off the bottom of the oceans of the whole planet Earth. Their ships allow them to transport themselves to where they want in time and in space, but it is clear that they bring from their galaxy many other types of food with which they are nurtured. Please realize that they are not prisoners inside the city, that they possess freedom in order to travel in their ships to where they want to go, that is all. 15. Can you tell us what kind of coins do they use or if they don't have coinage? Miss, the authentic men, the cosmic men don't have need of money in order to live. They have systems, economic methods vastly superior to those of us, poor intellectual animals of the earth. 16. What is the message that they have for humanity, at the current time, the Blue Men? Ah, kind gentleman, your question is formidable, and it is clear that I proceed to answer it. A blue lady that always remains next to the king told me the following: the planet Earth is going to be destroyed. The people that live on the surface of the earth believe that all those cities and materials, things that they possess, are going to last all of their lives. They become attached to things, and that is absurdity, because all that they have is going to be destroyed. 17. According to what you have just communicated to us, would it be preferable no longer to devote ourselves to obtain material objects? Ah, your question is disturbing. Permit me, my good friend, to say to you that we should live in agreement with the law of the scale. Don't wallow in the mud of the wealth, neither in the dirt of the penury. We should have the necessary things for life, but never get attached to them. You remember the last days of Pompeii. The people then tried to flee with their treasures, attached to all their properties, and they perished. The excavations demonstrate that the inhabitants of Pompeii, in their majority, were squashed by the ruins of the city or by the stones of the Vesube. The blue men will complete a gigantic world mission in those most awful moments that are approaching. They will struggle to make us return to the divinity. They will endeavor to show us the way to salvation.